Hello, welcome again to Connecting the Dots. I'm Dr. Claude Anderson, your host. I'm with you on a weekly program trying to bring some truth, some real truth, and show you where Black folk are, and how they got there, and what they got to do to get out of it. That's very unusual because most most social media is not going to do that. So always stay tuned every week to Connecting the Dots. Now, and we try to pick things anywhere between historical issues and present day issues, and to either go backwards and connect the dots or come forward and connect the dots, but all of them relate to anything that is substance and that would significantly impact Black Americans or Native Black Americans. Now, this week, there was an article out where they're talking about Trump has gained among Black voters since the 2016 election. Why? And everybody expressing curiosity how Donald Trump could have such a high negative rating among the general population, but yet why he's picking up some Black support. It's very simple. It's very simple. If whether you're a politician or non-politician, there are two reasons. The first reason is because Donald Trump went back and picked up a lot of things that I put into a newsletter way back and was sent to Obama about what he should be doing in this country, in particular for Black folk. That was very important. Donald Trump picked up a lot of those things and used them in his campaign in 2016. And one of the major things he said in doing it was this. He took this statement, somebody, Donald Trump asked Black voters, you need to vote to me, but what in the hell else you got to lose? And he was right. Black voters didn't have anything to lose in 2016. You know why? Because neither the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party was doing anything of substance for Black folk. They never have. They never have. Democratic Party is the original party that was enslaving Blacks all for 360 years, where they were enriching themselves off of Black labor and paying Black folk out knew nothing, where Blacks were just suffering as slaves. No food, no clothes, no family, no land, no ownership, no wealth, no power, no resources, no rights, no privileges. And so that was a Democratic Party, the old Democratic Party. It was the same Democratic Party that stayed in existence all the way up until about the 1950s, when they decided to switch clothes and go and call themselves Republicans because they were totally opposed to social integration that was on the horizon going to come to the Democratic Party. And what the real conservatives said is that we don't want to be in that party with those Black folk that we've been enslaving for 360 years. So let's abandon the Democratic Party and become the new Republican Party. And that's how so the new Republican Party is the old Confederate states from the South. And when you see on a voting map, look at your voting map. All those red states in the South, that's the Confederate South. They boasted for years that the South would rise again. And they did. They rose. They rose under Donald Trump. And that's why they're back in power now. They say we're going to take back the power and take back all those things. And if we can, we're going to subordinate Black folk back where they were back in slavery. And so they did get the Black vote. They got it again because Donald Trump was neither a Republican nor a Democrat. He says, if you vote for me, you Black folk, you haven't got anything to lose because you all don't have anything anyway. And therefore, he sort of suggested the possibility he's going to do something to help Black folk. But up to this present time, Donald Trump has done absolutely nothing in the first 2 years to help Black folk. Nothing. I mean, there are a lot of shovel-ready projects that Blacks own and been trying to get implemented now for 2 years under the Trump administration. Nobody can even get to Donald Trump. He's not doing anything for Black folk, but he's getting over because Black folk still feel that somehow, since he's an independent, he's neither a Republican or a Democrat, which means he's not either one of those conservative bailiwicks, nor he's in the liberal bailiwick nowadays, because the liberal aren't going to do a damn thing for Black folk. No president in the history of the United States has ever done anything substantially, specifically, and solely for help Black folk. Never. Not from George Washington all the way up to Donald Trump. None of them. Black, white, the few Black, never done anything for Black folk. Now that defeats the whole purpose of politics. Politics is a very simple process that says, I will define for you on who's going to get the benefits out of life. It's based on a simple premise of quid pro quo, something for something. One hand washes the other. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You vote for me, I'll support you and do something for you. Black people are the only people that have never played politics to win, and that's why they wound up now supporting Donald Trump. And politics, the present day politics didn't even come into existence until the 1500s, and it came in based on economics. Economics will control politics every time. Politics controls nothing. It's the economic base behind politics that controls it. And so the same conservatives during slavery that had all the wealth in the South, most of the wealth of the nation was confined to the South during slavery. And that's why they were controlling politics for 360 years. Now, after slavery ended, then a lot of that wealth moved to the north, and so a lot of conservatives all over the north, they're still controlling politics. And in America, you got approximately 600 white multi-billionaires. That's who controls the politics. Trump just proclaims that he's one of them, even though he might not even be a billionaire, but at least he's figured that out. And so he says, I got the power. I'm in line with all these multi-billionaires, and I can do things for you all. And he gave that suggestion out, but he hadn't done anything. Prior to Trump getting elected to office, the typical vote for since 1960, when the whites shifted from the Democratic Party to become Republicans have not since never gotten more than about 2%, only 2% of the national vote for the Republican Party. But back in his last 2016 election, based on his promise saying I suggested he would do something for black folk, and he used a lot of the things that I suggested in my articles, my newsletter in 2012 for Barack Obama. He picked up a lot of those things, and he said, I'll do something for y'all. And so blacks went out and supported him, and the amount of vote he got from the black Americans at that point jumped from 2% up to about 9%, and that was a big jump. And ironically, that's the jump that made him the president of the United States. Donald Trump got elected on the backs of native black Americans in this country. That's where he got the vote from. That's the difference. That's 75,000 votes he got to make the difference. That's where he got it from. And now, but he has not delivered on black folk. Now people are saying, well, what do we got to do to change it, or back to the Democratic Party? I'm not sure you'll ever be able to change it unless the Democratic Party, which now is the Liberal Party, quit playing games. See, the Democratic Party has never, the new Democratic Party that came in 1950 had never done anything significant for black folk. They play all these ambiguous games about, well, we got to represent all people. All people is not your backbone of your party. The backbone of the present Democratic Party is 38% black. They have never done anything for black folk. They always talk about what they're going to do for gays and women and Arabs and images and Hispanics and Asians and midgets and everybody but black folk. And so this year, about that 9%, that 8 to 9% that switched and went over with Donald Trump, they might not ever see him again, because increasingly more and more blacks start becoming independents unless these political parties quit shucking and jiving. And what I would suggest to the black voters across this country, you make up about 38% of the Democratic Party. Start demanding. You have never demanded anything from any party. Black American or black voters have never demanded anything from either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They demand nothing, and that's exactly what they get. What you got to say now is say, okay, if we're going to pull out of both parties and say we don't want to be a Democrat or a Republican. We don't care about either one of it. We're going to create our own black independent party. And when we create it, we're going to vote as a block across this nation. Well, we're going to vote strong for nationally, maybe 27%, about 25 or 27% national base, and the Democratic Party itself, about a 38% black base. And so we're going to vote for whoever promises the most and delivers the black vote. And if we have nobody to do it, we'll do it. We're going to create a black independent party. We're not going to run into candidates shuck and jive like most of you do. We're going to simply say we were promised to vote in a block for whoever promises the most and delivers the black vote in tangible terms. We're not going to vote any longer for anybody who promises all these platitudes about we got to move to be higher engine. We got to save the world. We got to save the nation. We got to save poor people. We got to save the crippled, deaf and blind. Has nothing to do with black folk. Black folk have never voted on their own self-interest. They always wanted to vote on a very simple premise. There are two kinds of voters. There are those who are in politics and who understand the nature of politics. Politics, if you're going into the voting arena, it's a race. It's a contest. And in that race, people vote for two kinds of, either for the strongest, or they voted for the ones who the thoroughbred horses, like in a horse race, whichever horse is going to come in first, second to place. And so most people vote along those lines. But except for our people, black people, they're not in their thoroughbred. They don't get their vote for self-interest about who's going to come in first. They get over and vote on the other side The other side of the coin, what you call jackass. They just vote for anybody. Whoever promise nothing to them, they'll vote for them and carry their water. There's an old saying in farming which says, the biggest fool will carry the heaviest load. So I tell black folk, quit carrying everybody else's load. Quit voting for everybody else. Vote strictly for your own self-interest first. That's what Jews are going to do. Jews are going to vote for whatever's in the best interest of Jews. Arabs are going to vote for who are in the best interest of Arabs. Hispanics are going to vote for their best interest. And everybody, the women are going to vote for their best interest. Everybody would do it except black folk. Because see, black folk don't understand the game, playing the game. They let a lot of tricksters trick them in the wrong way, saying, well, you shouldn't go vote for any along the lines of your self-interest. You should be willing to vote for any and everybody, because you don't know, the world might get blown up, or the economy might collapse. What black folks should be saying, that's fine. That's fine. If somebody in a political party want to blow up the world and depress the economy, let them do it. Let the people who have the most to lose worry about the world being blown up, what's going to be lost. Black folk with only 2% of the wealth in the nation, that is the least thing that you should be worried about. Don't be worried about, let those who got the most to lose, let them worry about saving the world. You worry about how to save black people in this country. Now, black folk have about a $1.3 trillion annual disposable income. You learn how to start practicing group economics in a race-based society. A race means you're competing. And quit listening to people tell you that in a race, you're supposed to be concerned about equality. There is no equality in a race-based society. There's no equality in a foot race, or horse race, a bicycle race, an automobile race. Nobody's going racing for equality. They're racing to create inequality. They want to know who's everybody stars out, but whoever comes in first wins. But only black people be taught, well, you got to get in this race, but you keep looking back and try to make sure everybody's staying with you and y'all come in together. That is foolish. That has nothing to do with politics. Politics decides who will get what benefits. We have not been getting any benefits all these years because we keep trying to look for equality among in a race. It cannot be done because unless you redistribute the resources in the black folk hand, there will never be any equality. But that's the whole nature of politics, is to be able to get benefits. Don't let anybody tell you that when you go to vote this coming year or in the fall for the next president, that you should be voting based on exercising your rights. You don't go to the poll to exercise rights. You go to the poll to get benefits, to get benefits. You don't go there to exercise any rights. If you want to get exercise, go to the gymnasium, take out a membership, or you go put on your jogging clothes and jog around the park someplace if you want to exercise. But never go to the darn polls talking about you want exercise. Or they said, others said, Dr. Anderson, I think that's bad advice, because a lot of people gave their lives for the right to vote. No black person ever intentionally gave his life up for somebody to vote. He may have had his life taken from him. He didn't voluntarily allow himself to be killed just so he can have a right to vote. As a matter of fact, the only people in this country that were given specific rights to vote for a short time, that came out of the radical Republicans. That only lasted for about 10 years, from 1865 to 1875, and that was destroyed by when the Democratic Party and the Republican Party merged again to kill off all those benefits. That's why Reconstruction only lasted 10 years. And then during that course, that period started in 1865, they gave you the 15th Amendment to vote. Nobody else has been given the right to vote. Why not? It's simple. You see, whites in general, anybody come to this country who can pass as whites, got their right to vote in the first through the 12th Amendment. They got their rights to vote. They didn't have any rights. Only one of the other was pushing for rights to vote for women for a while in the 1850s, but even they had a right to vote. But they couldn't, most of them couldn't vote because they didn't own property. To be able to vote, you had to own property. But other than that, throughout history, all the rights that whites needed was in the 1 through 12th Amendment. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment went into existence strictly to correct the Dred Scott decision and give rights to black folk. That was the purpose of it, that they can go vote. And that was the 15th Amendment in 1868. Now here black folk are still going out there talking about suppression of the black vote, and who can't vote here and who can't vote there. Are they blocking your right to vote? Are they changing the ballots or throwing and jamming the votes? All this kind of stuff. Forget that. Go look at the 14th Amendment and the second article there. It gave you what I call a nuclear option. It has never been used. The nuclear option in my Black Labor White Wealth and in the Black History Reader, it tells you you got an option that's never been exercised. That if anybody blocks your right to vote as a Black person, if you understand that the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment was strictly for you, you can go and challenge anything they want and throw out the whole darn election. Go look at the second article in the 14th Amendment that was written strictly solely for Black folk. But again, it's going to be hard for you right now because you've been bamboozled by civil rights leaders, Black elected officials, and the Supreme Court and other court systems saying, well, those rights are for everybody. And if it's for everybody, you Black folk can't use it. But if you're that big a fool and you keep playing around, you're going to lose in politics. You got to go there and vote for your own self-interest. And if you can't get it for the Democratic Party or Republican Party, then build your own independent party and vote as a block for your own interests and whoever promises the most and delivers the most to Black folk. That's the way you win in politics. Quid pro quo, something for something. Don't vote and get nothing. If you ask for nothing and you demand nothing, that's exactly what you're going to get. That's it on voting. I'll see you at the next session of Connecting the Dots. Have a good day. Stay strong and keep the faith.